Today, I'm going to show you what, in my opinion, are the best vegan cupcakes.
I would just like to say this is very easy and I do mess up, but that's okay. Do as I say, not as I do, and you can learn from my mistakes. I was very tired. Okay, the first step you're going to do is make a vegan buttermilk-like substitute, which is almond milk and apple cider vinegar. You're going to curdle the almond milk with the apple cider vinegar with 1.5 cups of almond milk and 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Curdling does not sound like an appealing word, but it turns out well. You're going to stir it together and you're going to put it off to the side for at least 5 minutes to allow it to curdle. It makes the cupcakes super moist. Next, you're going to grab all of your dry ingredients and mix them in a medium to large mixing bowl. We have our flour, our sugar, our baking powder, baking soda, and last but not least, salt. You use that to cook and bake everything. It's kind of amazing. Okay, we're going to mix them all together. It is 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm just using a butter knife, the opposite side of a butter knife, to level those 2 cups out. Then 1 cup of white sugar. I used a half cup measure, so half cup, 2 cup, nope, 1 cup. Oh my god, even I messed up. Okay. Now we're going to put in the baking powder, which is 2 teaspoons, and baking soda, which is a half teaspoon. I was really nervous I was going to get baking soda and baking powder confused because I have done that before. So just reread. Now the salt is also 1 teaspoon. I often measure this over a little container so that I can still use all the excess salt because it's really hard to get the perfect amount because you can't stick it in there. Now we're going to mix it all together until it looks uniform. Now we're going to start to work with our wet ingredients. The first wet ingredient is coconut oil. Now, you do need liquid coconut oil for this. However, coconut oil does not come liquid. The one that I have comes pretty solid, but it's in a squeezy tube and you knead it around and mix it up so that it's more liquid, but oftentimes there's like a jar and you have to scoop it out with a spoon and it's pretty solid. Either way, you will need liquid stuff, but you don't have to buy liquid things because apparently we need vanilla too, because the liquid things are more expensive and not any easier than just putting it in the microwave. It's not worth it, in my opinion. And now that I have that, I put it in the microwave in the same bowl so that way I didn't have to transfer it. There was a little bit not dissolved, so I shook it around and it dissolved.
Half teaspoon works.
Now, so that you don't have to do math, that is 1 1/4 teaspoons vanilla extract. I just used a weird combination because that's what was clean. I'm really good at making the maximum amount of dishes. You're going to mix that together. You're going to mix all of your wet ingredients together here. Okay, all, which includes the vegan buttermilk substitute of the almond milk and apple cider vinegar, which I forgot about and didn't do. So this is the part where you are supposed to do what the recipe says and not what I did. I realized eventually and put it in later and it was totally fine, but it's not what you're supposed to do. This is what the curdled almond milk will look like for reference, if that helps. Now you're going to mix it all together until it's a uniform consistency that's pretty thick. And line your baking sheet. Some people like to do this first, but I don't. I use the If You Care baking liners because they are better for the earth. Ideally, you would use like no liner. However, it's really, really hard to grease or butter the pan enough that it doesn't leave a bunch of residue, and that's a lot to clean and it's quite annoying. Also, I think it probably wastes a lot of water cleaning it, so overall the liners are better, but maybe I'm just trying to justify not wanting to clean. I don't know. Anyway, I scooped it into the liners. That's the consistency of the batter. I always worried it was too thick, but it turned out perfectly fine. So yeah, maybe that's always what cupcake batter looks like. I don't know. I'm not like the best baker. I just do it often, but I wasn't able to read the directions, so I think that tells you something. Now I am dancing and singing to a song because I shuffled it on Spotify and it was about 10 o'clock at night. I want you to ignore that little spot. I did cover it up. And now we are on to the frosting and more singing and dancing, apparently. While I'm singing and dancing, I'm going to tell you that I made these cupcakes for a fundraiser for 350.org. 350.org is a great cause to help the earth. And yeah, I might insert a little thing about them here. Okay, and on to the frosting. Today we'll be making vegan chocolate frosting. I like the vegan chocolate better than the vegan vanilla with the vanilla cupcake. You will need vegan butter softened to room temperature, which I didn't do. You'll hear about this later. Cocoa powder, natural or Dutch processed. I chose Dutch processed because I found it first. Powdered sugar, vanilla extract, and unsweetened soy milk, but I used unsweetened almond milk because it's basically the same thing. Do whatever you're not allergic to. I don't have any allergies. I just had the almond milk at my house. But if you're allergic to either one of them, they're definitely interchangeable. Okay, so I was supposed to take out the butter when I started, but I did not. And it's really late and the night before the bake sale, so I figured I could outsmart the recipe and put the butter in the microwave. My microwave has a melt butter function, but what I didn't realize was that the vegan butter's melting point and the regular butter's melting point are not quite the same. And I had liquid butter, but I was supposed to have softened butter. Yeah, so it was a soup and I could not whisk it up to form any sort of peak of any kind. Then I checked on the cupcakes and they were still wet and not, fully cooked through. That's what they looked like. Now I put this in the fridge and thought maybe this time, but no, it's still a sloshy mess if you can't tell. And I tried anyway though, and it just got worse. So I put it back in the fridge and hoped for the best. If you want to avoid all of this fridge stuff, just take out the butter when you start making the cupcakes, and then you should be fine. Okay, after the longer amount of time with the butter in the refrigerator, I think I got it. Yes, and then I was able to whip it up like that. That's what it's supposed to look like, I assume, I hope, I pray. Also, I did half this recipe, and that's the measurements I'm giving you, but you can totally do the full recipe. And then the measurements are less weird. This is 3/8 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder, which I have an 1/8 cup measurer, so it was totally fine, but it would usually be 3/4 cup. I just don't like a heavy amount of frosting, and I forgot to say that at the beginning. So yeah, and now 1 3/4 cup powdered sugar with the half recipe. Again, sorry, I meant to say that earlier. All of the recipes will be in the little description box of the video if you want to look at those and check them out to follow along. I'm trying my best here, but you can tell I was, kind of a wreck. Now we're adding the 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. It is really late. And now the unsweetened almond milk or soy milk, which is 1 1/2 tablespoons. And you're going to mix it all together. Make sure to go down all the way into the bowl and then turn it on, because that way it won't shoot everywhere, which I did, but not the first time. I did it the second time I started mixing things, and it got chaotic. It'll start to look good and like that, and the color will change. It'll become a lighter brown as time goes on, and that's what you're striving for. You are not striving for this, making a mess of everything. I literally didn't notice that. I have to clean that part too. It literally flung everywhere. I'm clearly kind of a train wreck. Also, these paper towels are made from recycled materials. They're from Who Gives a Crap. Now that that's all cleaned up, or at least I thought it was, I am going to put the chocolate frosting into a piping bag because that is my preferred way to do it. This is the one part where I am not doing what I can for the environment, but I'm sorry. Eventually I'll get to the reusable piping level of cleanliness, but if I flung the frosting everywhere, you can only imagine how my reusable piping bag journey may not be one I have started yet. I like to use a cup to fill it up all by myself because it makes it easier, and then squish it down to the bottom haphazardly. The amount that kind of falls out at the top also proves why I do not have a reusable piping bag. However, what I do is I don't use a rubber band to close it. I just hold it with my hand. Now I'm just going to pipe on the cupcakes. I also put them in these little things because I was selling them for a bake sale. They were paper cups that were slit so that the cupcakes could fit in them and the frosting wouldn't be destroyed. Chocolate frosting usually looks like poop on cupcakes, and I apologize for that, but that's just kind of the fact of the matter. And a lot of them looked ugly, but you know what? It's okay. They taste delicious. They're vegan. All the people who bought them were putting money towards a great cause. So overall, presentation is not the most important part, although that's something I do hope to get better at. So maybe that will be a future video if y'all are interested. Also, if you stuck with me this long through this chaotic journey, I really appreciate it and am quite frankly surprised, as I myself, recording this voiceover, feel like this has gone on forever. That was the one pretty one that I made. All the other ones were kind of ugly, and I was content with that. So I totally forgot to record an outro, so I'm just going to leave you with this. I am not vegan, and I love these cupcakes. I've also had many friends taste them and say they couldn't tell a difference. I made a fun batch of these for Taylor's release of Red Taylor's version, and yeah, that's when everyone tried them, had them, and were surprised there was no dairy. Thanks so much for watching, and hope to see y'all later.